and boom goes the dynamite.
Hello, and welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show. I am your host, Michael Carvelis. This is Daily Dive. To everyone on the West Coast, good morning. To everyone on the East Coast, good afternoon. It's time for lunch and some lacrosse talk. It is Tuesday, good Lord. It is Tuesday, June the 6th, 2023, and we're glad you could join the show. On today's show, our top story will be, I feel like fans need more content from this whole championship run, and I'll explain why it relates to the PLL. Also, speaking of the PLL, we'll talk about some other sports news that influenced me to think about something crazy. Our big guest today, presented by Fanatics, will be Cooper Perkins, the Seals play-by-play announcer. Comes by the show one more time this season to talk all things San Diego hosting World Lacrosse. Our last brew, presented by B-Rose Coffee, company code Daily Dive. Do we need a tiebreaker in the Bandits and Mammoth series? So let's get into it. Our top story presented by our store. And where can you find our store? Go to Daily Dive Lax on social media and click the link tree in the bio. Click the Our Store tab, and it's the best way to support the show as we try to grow the game. There's some awesome lacrosse shirts there you might find appealing. And again, it helps support us so much. Our top story presented by that store is fans, I feel like, need more content. I don't want just retweets and congratulations graphics. I need more than just post-game player interviews. I need interviews afterwards. I need heartwarming stuff. Like, remember yesterday I mentioned all the Buffalo happenings the last year? You had the grocery store shooting, the winter storm, you had the DeMar Hamlin scare, you have the owner of the team suffering cardiac arrest. Like, we didn't get a lot of that. Well, why it meant so much to Buffalo. And I can only do so much on this here show regarding that topic. I also need podcasts interviewing these guys in shows. Like, it doesn't feel like as it feels like they've won it, but it doesn't feel like we're talking about it afterwards besides on this show. I don't care what podcast it is. I need more interviews from these guys. Also, like, where's the content? Like, we keep on replaying the same clips over and over and over. And to me, that can get old after a while. Like, we get it. This is what was said before the game and after the game. We get it. This is what happened. Now show me something more. Show me something deeper inside the game that we may have missed. And I'm just not seeing a lot of that stuff. So, again, it's a great run for the Buffalo Bandits, and they deserve all of our praise and recognition. But like I said, I just want a little bit more from the league in terms of that. Because remember, the PLL, tell you what, this is good. 2023 is a digital age. And it feels like the PLL is so pleasing on social media, even if their product is inferior to the NLLs. Like, from the outside looking in, I would be like, wow, what is the NLL? Like, there's not much here. And from the PLL, I'm getting an app, I'm getting content, I'm getting so many things on social media. It makes you wonder how on earth the NLL is that much better, but outside looking in, you can't tell. So that's why I need more of this stuff. I need more from the teams, and I need more from the league. I think it'll help grow the sport, which is what we all want in the end. And also, I got to poke fun at the golf league, man. So LIV and PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, whatever it's called, have announced a partnership. And I don't want to talk about that per se. I want to just put it in the minds of Paul Rabel and Brett Freud, the commissioners of the PLL and the NLL, that anything is possible. Because if you follow golf even just a little bit, you know this whole debate inside the LIV golf, the LIV Tour, and the PGA Tour it was kind of ugly at times. It was way uglier than I feel like the NLL and PLL have ever been. Like, we may be at arm's length with each other, but it's never felt like they hate each other. And so this is, maybe there's something I don't know, but again, the fact that golf could do it, I feel like, hey, lacrosse, you know what time it is. We're next, baby. Hopefully, we'll have to see. But that aside, coming up next is the amazing Cooper Perkins, who's this play-by-play with San Diego Seals. We'll talk to him about World Lacrosse in San Diego and what does he want to see from the NLL this offseason and more. This is Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. Our big guest once again, presented by Fanatics, is the awesome Cooper Perkins. Cooper, welcome back to the show for possibly one final time this season.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to hop on whenever we get the chance.
Absolutely. Love talking lacrosse. So I got to jump right into it with you. The NLL season has concluded, and what a successful one it was for box lacrosse in general. We've heard the Commissioner Brett Frew talk about, kind of tease these changes that might be coming, whether big or small. And I wanted to get your take as a guy who obviously knows the sport better than I do. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think, what do you want to see, whether on the field or off the field, whether immediately or long term?
Well, I don't have any idea what they're going to do as far as changes, whether they're big or small. The only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I would really like to see is, and I think this would get a lot of flack from a lot of people, but more face-offs. I'd like to see, rather than having when the dead ball goes out of play and we just hand it to whatever team, I think it'd be great to be able to have a face-off there like hockey does, because I think from a TV standpoint, it gives us so many more opportunities to talk about things and develop stories and make our characters more interesting. As the way the game is structured from a competition standpoint, it's really, really difficult to do that because the action is so constant, which is one thing we love about it, but I don't think it would hurt to slow things down just a tiny bit here and there and be able to develop these characters, because so much of what the league's growth looks like, right, comes down to storytelling, and to do a better job of telling stories in the broadcast, which is an area of the league that they've tried to prioritize, with the move to TSN and ESPN Plus. I think that would be one really beneficial place that they could make some tweaks. I don't think that's something that there's probably an appetite for within the lacrosse people. I think that there might be some people who function on the business or the media side that could be curious about an idea like that, but I can't imagine the people who, the rules committee or anyone like that really would have an appetite for something like that. Right. Big picture changes. The only one that I would like to see that I don't think we ever will is I'd like to see the NLL actually release the numbers on what these players getting paid. I think that publicizing what the salary cap is and allowing us to see what those contracts look like. I mean, I'm in the dark as much as everyone else is, and I understand why they don't do that. But in the same way that they've gone towards an injury report, albeit imperfect, if this is going to be a serious league that is trying to compete on a level like a Major League Baseball or an NFL or an NBA, there are some things that just have to be public domain. And at some point we'll get there, and they're probably protecting it until those numbers are something that they're proud of, as opposed to something that they feel like hiding. But I think the more transparency that the league can foster, the better the relationship with their fan base. And that would be one place that would be interesting because at some point those numbers get leaked out one way or another, and I don't know why you wouldn't own it as opposed to having that be something that gets snuck out. And that's not to say that there's any curiosity as like what the players are making. That's not the point. The point isn't,
Right.
oh, so and so is only making whatever. That has nothing to do with it. It's that we need some kind of basis in determining how players are valued beyond just what stats say or what our eyes tell us. And like there are interesting conversations. Like I would love to know what Josh Courier was making in Saskatchewan before they traded him, right? Like what does that do in trying to help a team construct a roster? How does that information affect what the trade then looks like? And not because I care about Josh Courier's finances. I don't care about that at all. But as it pertains to the Rush and a guy that didn't fit on their team, did they have extra incentive to move him beyond just, hey, let's get this guy another opportunity? Maybe. Those are questions that I think would be interesting. And there are obviously reasons why people don't want that to be out there. But that's one change that I think the league probably wants to avoid, but might actually benefit them in the long run.
I love that financial transparency points because you are right. It does help fans, talk about it. It does help us value players more so or less so than others. And I also love your face-off point because I that was something I actually like, and you're probably right. The rules committee may not like it immediately, but for the growth of the sport, I love those things you said. I have a question for you about the games that were played. Do you think? I think you weren't a fan of the Seals only having one game to be eliminated. Do you think we could see like 3 or 5 games, or what do you think would be a good number there?
I just don't think that it makes any sense to have a one-game playoff and then a series format. It kind of needs to be one or the other. And if they wanted to do a play-in where 4 versus 5 in order to play one, I think that might make sense. But there's just no incentive to try that hard in the regular season if it's all a one-game playoff. And like credit to Colorado, right? They didn't have a very good regular season, but it didn't matter because they found themselves in a situation where you have a great goaltender. You need to win one game. You do that, and then it becomes a best 2 out of 3 series the next 2 times out, and you like your chances in that situation. So I don't think that necessarily they need to make a best 3 out of 5 or anything. I know that in Canadian Summer Ball they play best 4 out of 7, which is wild, and I think would be awesome. That's something that we would ever get unless all of the players were full time. It's just too much of an ask, but I just want to see some consistency. The one and done and then the 2 out of 3 just doesn't make any sense. Either make it all one and done or all 2 out of 3, or if you like the idea of a one and done, then do it as a play-in so you can then get a couple more teams into the playoffs, right? Which then everyone wins because, in that situation, Colorado's number 4. They get to have a home game that they wouldn't get to otherwise. That's a lot of money, both for the Mammoth. It's good for the league scene. 15,000 people in Ball Arena. It's just a no downside thing, but there are obviously logistical hurdles that apply to this league more than rather only apply to this league as opposed to others. And because of that, I don't know if that's something that we would see or could see, but I would like to see it, if that makes sense.
I'm excited for the future regardless. I'm excited to see the immediate changes we do get, and then we'll see how it plays out. Let's shift gears to San Diego's side, and not just box lacrosse, but world lacrosse is coming to San Diego. Are you involved with that? How much are you involved, and what can we expect watching it?
I do expect to be involved in it. It's going to be a massive undertaking with more than 100 games, so there will be a lot of different faces, a lot of really prominent lacrosse media folks will be a part of it, which is really cool. This is not just like a summertime, we get the C team, the ESPN folks and all that are going to be, treating it like the great event that it is, which is really cool to see. And there's some fun other stuff going on, like the whole Steve Aoki playing at the USA Canada thing is kind of a fun little wrinkle that I don't know if folks would necessarily expect. I'd love to find out if he's just like a big lacrosse fan or something, because that would be like the funniest thing ever to me. But it's just going to be a cool event. I think that where the most interest should lie, as opposed to does lie, is on the fringes of seeing where lacrosse is developing. I'm excited to see Denmark and Team Uganda, and I think those are going to be really fascinating experiences to watch. Whereas USA Canada is going to be great, right? Because it's the highest level lacrosse in the world. But I'm just curious to see how lacrosse is coming along in the other parts of the world, because I don't know how much people know about this, but like it's a big undertaking for some of these teams to get there. And I think just because Team Canada might beat Team Denmark 20-3 or something like that, I don't want that to be something where we lose sight of how cool it is to have Team Denmark there or Team Uganda. Not to single out any of them. I'm just using examples. I don't want to make it seem like there's some kind of bias against any of these squads, but I think that those fringe games, like the Pool C, Pool D games, are going to be really interesting because they just will give us a little bit of a barometer for growth and how things are coming together. And those are also places where interesting, little stories come out, little heroes and guys that we would never hear of otherwise because they wouldn't make a Team USA or a Team Canada. But in the context of their competition and who they're playing for, they're able to give us something that's really interesting. And so I'm very excited to see those things and see those teams and watch those stories unfold.
I love that aspect. I'm glad you brought the story part of it. And plus, who knows, we might see a Cinderella team. I was like some Czech Republic story. Like, wow, these guys are playing lacrosse. That's pretty cool. But
I mean, at the sixes, look no further than Japan, right? Pulling off a bronze medal. I think that's illustrative of some of the interesting things that can happen. And to your point, we always hope for a Cinderella as sports fans, right?
I love it. Can't wait. And I look forward to what you do as well. One thing I want to ask you is, we know the SEAL season is over, but I want to ask you, where can we find players, whether it be the PLL or even the World Lacrosse, that right off the top we can look forward to, like the Curtis Dixons or what stars can we look for in the offseason for the SEALs fans?
I have no idea. You obviously look for the players that are already on the roster. Right. Those guys are going to have to re-sign if they so choose. As far as other prospective players that aren't currently a part of the organization, I have not the slightest idea. I don't know. Anytime Patrick Merrill's involved, always look for connections to the Hill Academy, right? Because of that relationship and that special developmental operation that they have up there in Ontario. Look for guys that, have ties to the old Toronto Rock of the mid-2000s because of, Patrick and Brody. But beyond that, man, I don't know where to look. The signings last year, I think, were as big of a surprise to me as anyone. Kevin Crowley was completely out of left field as far as I was aware. So if they're going to make any big moves, I'd expect something that's either, adjacent to the Merrill family and some of their, tentacles and the way that they reach out throughout all the lacrosse world, or something that's just totally unexpected because, as fans, we don't get to be a part of those conversations. And, maybe there are some more qualified people than I that can connect some dots and read the tea leaves. But as far as what I know, I don't have a lot to tell you.
No, I feel bad. I was asking you, are you looking forward to watching PLL with those players? On the SEALs. My bad. I feel bad about that.
To answer that question, I think it'll be really interesting to watch them in the Worlds. Okay. That'll be more interesting than the PLL for a lot of reasons. It's just, I think that's going to be a more compelling product because there's more on the line. There's more to play for. The PLL is what the PLL is. It's, great for a lot of things. And, there's nothing to take away from the PLL. I just think World is a more interesting event than a weekend in Salt Lake City or whatever they're doing. Yeah,
well, I can't wait, regardless of what happens for the next summer of lacrosse. I know you can either enjoy your time in San Diego doing what you do. And Cooper, thanks so much for joining us all season long, and we'll definitely have you on next season as well.
Thanks, buddy. I hope to be back. It looks great, and appreciate what you've been doing this year.
Thank you as well, man.
All right.
Cooper Perkins, everybody. He is great. He is awesome. I cannot wait to see what the SEALs have in store at the World Lacrosse. Games Boy, I feel bad when I worded that question so badly. That was my fault on that part. But hey, great to see him, and great. I love that we got the other perspective. Because again, I didn't think about that stuff like the face-offs in that zone where the ball is dropped in terms of NLL changes, or maybe like seeing a Cinderella team or some nice stories come out from World Lacrosse. This is why we have guests on that know what they're talking about. So I love this stuff. I love it. And thank you so much for Cooper Perkins once again for coming on all season long. And man, that's so awesome. When I come back, I do want to tease one more thing. It's regarding Bandits and Mammoth fans. I think both might entertain this if you bear with me. Daily Dive will conclude next. I mean, am I wrong about this? I just want to throw this out there one more time because NLL memes are not the only ones with graphics. I cannot believe I've made that page twice this year just from takes that I've had. It's really insane. But no, I just want people to know, hey, it's possible. Anything is possible. Was it Kevin Garnett that said that one time? B-Rose Coffee Company, code Daily Dive at checkout. It's coffee flavors you never knew you needed to get you through the week. It's coffee made by gamers, for gamers, and of course, Daily Dive and lacrosse fans. Code Daily Dive at checkout on BRizCoffeeCO.com. Do we need a tiebreaker? The reason that comes up is, let's say in 1 or 2 years, preferably next year, Dylan Ward and either Ryan Lee or Eli McLaughlin lead the Mammoth to play Dave Smith, DeHogan and Josh, and the Bandits. Would that be a good tiebreaker? Because to be fair, Mammoth fans have a championship last year against the Bandits. Bandits fans have a championship this year against the Mammoth. Does something not feel settled to you guys? I know right now I don't want to take anything away from Buffalo, but hey, you know, what if Mammoth come into next season like super red hot? And what if they go on some nice run and they're one of the top teams? Bandits stay consistent like they do. Maybe Matt Vince does run it back. Who knows? But I'm interested to see how soon these two teams meet again. Because remember, the Mammoth won 13-8 in the regular season. So the Bandits, of course, got back and won 2 out of 3 here. But I think there's an interesting concept, and I've seen some fans talk about it. But I think something doesn't feel quite settled with Mammoth and Bandits. And I think the rivalry either has just begun or is right in the middle, needing to be finished. I love lacrosse. I love the NLL. I even bought the hoodie. And by the way, I'll say this again about Fanatics. You may have seen it on Twitter already. When I said, hey guys, this thing was supposed to be black with an epic logo. It was not. I have a one-of-a-kind hoodie. I'm happy about that. But the black NLL hoodie would have been cool as well, too. But whatever. But hey, I love the NLL. And I'm here for the drama and the chaos. And speaking of chaos, I'll get to more on this tomorrow. But PLL Chaos have activated the boys from the Bandits. I'm calling them the boys now. They're the boys. They're the ones who were able to win the championship. And now I'm surprised they're not like vacationing right now, but they love lacrosse more than even I do. And I'll tell you what, Chaos played an overtime game and lost by 1 goal, but hey, Next week, are we smashing the money line? Is the money line going to be too long? I don't know. But yeah, that's been it for Dewey Dive. To everyone that watches this show and pushes the algorithm in our direction, thank you. You're awesome. To guests like Cooper Perkins that have been on all year, and even the new guests that we may have, thank you for helping our show. For everyone behind the scenes working on an exceptional season 1 and going to be a great season 2, I am your host, the humble Michael Carvelis, saying you guys have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. This is Daily Dive. Bye.